everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. Today is February 28th, 2022. Happy Monday. Kind of switched things up on you guys a little bit yesterday. Some people were like, where's the astro weather? Don't worry about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the horoscopes. If you have not seen that, take a look. I'll talk about it a little bit at the end of the video today. Super stoked to be back. Those of you guys who are members or subscribers, thanks for joining me. Those of you guys who are new, welcome. I'm a Western and evolutionary astrologer. I also practice the art of tarot, and I provide clairvoyant readings. So my sessions and my interpretations are a bit of a triple threat. Very stoked to be chatting with you guys. This is going to be the March 2022 overview, some of the most important transits. When I say some, it's all of them because it's like, this is not a month where I can overlook really anything. This month, next month, I kind of feel like March, April, May is the meat of 2022, and some very important and also spiritual things ahead. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into it and take a look. Those of you guys who like to make notes in your calendar, or maybe you want to pull out a digital calendar, or you want to take a look at your natal chart, go ahead and do so. Grab your Sharpies, your pens, your pencils, whatever it is that you use. The month kicks off with March 1st with the sun in Pisces in a sextile to Uranus and Taurus. So maybe you guys already saw the horoscopes. If so, some of this might sound repetitive. I'm trying to break it up so that way if people just want to know what's going to manifest for their horoscopes, they can, versus people who want to know more general and the collective energies, that would be this video. But yeah, Pisces season, man, we're going to have lots of aspects both to Jupiter as well as Neptune. And if you saw my last week's video, I gave you that really cool flow chart where I kind of spoke about the importance of all the energies that are setting up basically in Capricorn, and the flow chart all the way to Taurus. If you haven't seen that, go and take a look because it's really helpful. It helps us better understand the storyline, right? Why we've had so many retrogrades in Capricorn, why we've had so many conjunctions to Pluto, both the sextiles that we're experiencing to planets in Pisces, the trines to the North Node. It's like making mud. It's so much earth and water right now. And I know things have felt very sluggish because we have had Venus in Capricorn for quite some time. But now we're actually going to see forward motion. I love the beginning of March because we come out of the retrograde shadow. I also love March because it's almost like we're going to find ourselves at a fork in the road. There's going to be opportunities very early on in the month where you're going to want to ask yourself, am I creating the life that I'm envisioning for myself? Am I believing in the future? Is the future bright? What am I manifesting? What am I thinking about? What am I giving energy to? So we can kind of create those sandcastles, you know, and they can become reality. Or we can look at things and kind of go, actually, none of this is working. Everything's melting down. This doesn't feel great. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you want to wipe the slate clean. I'm not saying this because it's Pisces season, but so much of the transits really do kind of remind me of literally playing in the sand on the beach. When you think about, you know, creating all of the sand castles, and you take all of the sand and you pack it into the little buckets and the containers, and you kind of create all of these little, I guess, castles, the waves can come in and it can kind of crash into it and wash it away. So water is this amazing element that has the ability emotionally and quite literally spiritually to flood in and wash things away. So things like soaking, detoxing, going to the spa, anything involving like foot reflexology, you know, fasts, cleanses, things like that are super, super beneficial, especially when we're working with so many elements in water. It's going to be like a water party, especially like the first half of the month. So the sextile that we see from the sun in Pisces to Uranus and Taurus, remember, sextiles are Venusian energies. You have to work with it. Is it a big energy? No, but it's enough to basically kind of go, all right, I really have this idea. I have this belief. I feel like it could be possible. It's happening at an 11, so it's very Aquarian, and it's also happening right during the dark of the moon. So when you notice on the 1st, we're getting ready to come into that new moon in Pisces. Now, my favorite kind of electional date will be just after the new moon. I'll give that to you guys, those of you guys who are into election astrology. If you're like, when is something going to stick? I've been waiting for several months. We'll talk about that. But this moon is more hope and inspiration for creating a new future. When we're in the dark of the moon, we can be a little moody, so we can kind of be feeling like things are actually getting cleared out. This time, okay, the 1st is a great day for banishing, clearing, cleansing, protecting. We've got Mercury, Saturn, and the moon, all 12 houses to Pisces. So it tells me collectively things are getting very quiet. That's what I like about Pisces energy. It's quiet. It's willing to kind of go its own way, hang out, meditate, sleep in, reflect, dream, divine, all of those kind of Neptunian themes. So this new moon, and really from the 1st until the moon gets into Taurus within a couple days' time, is quiet. It's kind of peaceful, right? Especially because we have Neptune and Jupiter during the new moon that are going to be in Pisces. Like, I don't think you guys understand. I get super excited in spite of all of the Saturn conjunctions and the squares to the nodes and planets still coming into Aquarius. In many ways, it almost feels as if like some of the structures that have been holding on really tightly in our lives, or powers or power plays, there's a lot of that going on with the Mars, Pluto, Venus conjunction, are holding on because they realize that something is about to break, or it almost feels like losing control. I had a live the other night and somebody was like literally talking to me about the squares that they were experiencing between Uranus and Saturn. They were like, I'm trying not to blow up my life. Some of you may feel like that, especially if you have fixed sign placement or Taurus placement. But, you know, all of these outer planets and what the conversations that they're having with each other is basically waiting for all the puzzle pieces to kind of shift. So there's like this cosmic reshuffling that's going to be happening really between now and the better part of May before we come into what is going to be a new period. It's going to be a new paradigm. So we're going to see a lot of Aquarius energy in the future. We're going to see a lot of Aries energy in the future. So while we're working with a stellium of planets in Capricorn, a stellium of planets actually still, at least on the 1st, in Aquarius, and then a stellium of planets in Pisces, these are the 11th, 10th, 11th house kind of aspects, right? It's the last quarter square. So it represents everything kind of coming to a peak and then it's falling apart. Everything's coming to a peak and it fades away. So I think all the energy in Capricorn is, kind of like the world powers doing everything they can to limit things, control things, shut things down, create conflict. And, I'm not somebody who's really big into watching the news. I just haven't been over the last year or so. I've just consciously kind of realized some of the effects that it has on me energetically and emotionally. And it's not that I'm not wanting to be informed. If I am looking for information, I'm going through independent media. But I kind of feel like in the month of March, there's going to be opportunities for us to either tune in or tune out, right? Or kind of like tune in, drop out. You guys get what I'm saying? Be very mindful that we're going to see people who are going to be on each end of the Pisces kind of spectrum. Some of the higher kind of vibration, the higher octave of Pisces is I'm not going to allow that to invade my energetic space. I'm not going to allow that to affect my little bubble. I'm very conscious and aware that I am absorbing things and that I can pick things up, whether that's fear, paranoia, scarcity, spiritual imbalances, whatever. And that you can take a step back and basically go, actually, I'm good. I'm going to turn the TV off. I'm not going to listen to that program. I'm going to drown that out. I don't want to hear that conversation. I'd rather kind of spend time by myself. There's a lot of vibe checking that's going to go on in March. Vibe check regularly. Something that I mentioned in a previous episode that I did on the channel. I was talking about how I'm trying to be conscious whenever I leave the house. Same as like picking up my keys or picking up my purse or whatever. I make sure that I'm grounding out my energy and protecting my auric body before I leave. Even in doing so, still getting slimed. So I'm going to keep telling you guys, be using those salt baths, salt scrubs. If you are capable of being near salt water or fresh water, go swimming, soak, do everything you can, or have those bubble baths, those sea salt baths, whatever it is that you want to do, those cleanses, because it's going to be really helpful in just consciously clearing that kind of static that's around, right? Because a lot of people are going to be giving that out spiritually and energetically, and they're not aware that they're doing that. I guess the more positive side of this can be people who are also focusing more attention on peace, prayer, unity, and reflecting on being able to kind of raise the vibrations. Now, you guys can do that with prayer, you can do that with meditation, you can do that with music, with sounds. Great month to be listening to a lot of like binaural beats, sound baths, things like that will be very helpful. So we start kind of becoming aware on the 1st that, hey, things are changing. Maybe it's time to re-envision a new future. What are we building? And on March 2nd, we're going to have a new moon in Pisces at 12 degrees. So if you guys have not already checked that video out, take a look. I actually posted it last week with insights into all of the aspects, the Sabian symbol, and the 12 signs. But also on this day, we're going to see Mercury in Aquarius come into conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius. So this is us getting serious about the future. Serious commitments, connections. There can be some sense of feeling like there is limitation, social limitations in speaking out, sharing ideas. Definitely a day to watch when it comes to the internet, when it comes to social media platforms and censorship specifically, guys. This is a time to really pay attention. On the 3rd of the month, we're going to see finally Mars and Venus conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. This will be at 27 degrees. Guys, this is a very big energy. Keep in mind, when Mercury went retrograde in Capricorn, it crossed the Pluto, conjunction where Venus was retrograding as well. Yes, it went into Aquarius, but it retrograded back to these same degrees. When Venus went retrograde in conjunction with Pluto several times. Now this is the final conjunction before Venus moves out of Capricorn. Venus has been in Capricorn since November. And Mars is just kicking ass and taking names. Now, I've been talking about this a lot. This ingress right before it goes into Aquarius, which is going to be new vibrations, new interests, new relationships. It's conversation with Pluto, okay? Hades is very, very, very intense. And this, I feel like, is the building blocks in motion for passion, power, and transformation. Whenever we see any planet come into contact with Pluto, we see the darker side of things. So the deep psychological triggers, the healing that needs to take place, the transformation, the rebirth, the death, the loss, the letting go. And not in a physical sense always, actually. It can be a series of mini deaths that are going on. Very strong sexual energy. It's been really building since about the second week of February. But finally, with that conjunction to Pluto, is going to be like nuclear, right? Quite literally or figuratively. Now, if you guys saw my videos in the past, I did like the Venus retrograde talk where I was like, Capricorn is about people in uniforms, and we're going to see lots going on with uniforms, whether this is like cops, military, all of those things have kind of come to fruition. We see it also in America's Pluto return chart. But Venus is capable, when she is in the mix, I believe, right, of being able to kind of smooth over and calm and bring peace and loving unity to Mars. And Venus also has a very unique relationship with Pluto that is the power to transform. So what is this, the power to transform? Transform and moving away from destruction, from death, moving away from hate, moving away from war, right? It reminds me of like that image of like somebody holding a flower in front of a tank. You would think that it's not really something that could stop something, but believe it or not, very powerful images relating to art, peace, war, and also resources are going to start popping up. And I want to read you guys something. I want to read you something really quick. One of my favorite books, Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. Whenever I'm kind of feeling like stuck, or I'm like, how can I better explain a conjunction or an aspect in a chart? This is my favorite thing to take a look at. I want to read you what Ren has to say about Venus and Pluto combined with Mars, okay? A primal and passionate nature, potential for profound romantic and sexual healing, ongoing efforts to balance one's yin and yang energies, dynamic creative work, the possibility of obsessive attractions, and overly brutal domineering approach to sex and relationships, romantic and sexual power trips, deliberately coarse manners, themes containing a sexual experience, right? So death and rebirth, it's like very connected to primal desire, regeneration. It's like, are you gonna fight or are you gonna make love? There can be lots of friction going on in relationships right now due to these energies. And it's like making love or making war. But it's also making art, making music, writing poetry, and being able to use love as the shield for being able to deflect against some of these more darker kind of Mars, Pluto's energy. It's also like about desire, right? Power trips, the desire to overtake something, to control resources, to control health, money, relationships. So things get a little intense the first couple of days. And I just want you guys to be mindful of this energy. And if you have any planets that are anywhere between, I would say like, 25 and 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, even the early degrees of the fixed signs, you guys are going to feel a little bit. You're going to feel that square. And it can have enough energy to really cut and sever and end something and go, that's enough. We're letting it be here. Now, I'm hoping that Venus, then when she makes her ingress into Aquarius with Mars, we have the ability to kind of talk about coming together in groups. But nevertheless, this is going to be something important to watch. Just this morning, I wasn't looking for it. I saw it pop up. Somebody sent me something about how there was like over 5,000 people in Russia that were protesting against the war in Ukraine, right? That kind of stuff. I also think we're going to see stuff like possibly soldiers protesting and not wanting to deploy. We might see lots of protests and stuff going on also with people in government and also military or cops here in the United States who are like, that's enough. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not going to do this. Reminds me a little bit of like when we saw so many powerful connections between people in the protests and the police officers in Black Lives Matter. We saw people like hugging each other and giving each other high fives, and police officers that were willing to kind of walk and peacefully protest with people. Similar energy, right? So that's an energy to watch. The fact that it's setting up right around the time of the new moon is like fireworks, to be honest with you. And I would say it's really a time to watch sometime between this conjunction that's taking place on the 3rd and roundabout maybe the 5th or the 6th of March, just to see some of this kind of military or police action. In the back of my mind, I also keep thinking about the convoy that's like on its way to DC and how that's going to materialize and what's actually going to happen, because the darker kind of side of the Pluto-Mars conjunction can actually be more police brutality. It can be more of them harming citizens, being really aggressive with people in the streets. So it's going to be really, really, really important to watch. On March 5th, we're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter. Now, you're going to hear a lot of astrologers say it's the luckiest day of the year. Yes, it's lucky, but it's more lucky if you can kind of catch those chance encounters, those little messages from the universe or from your spirit guides or from your dreams, or really paying attention to your intuition. This is a spiritual retreat day, lucky overall, spiritual and magical, insightful. Jupiter is very wise, so it can be a period where you receive a really good piece of information. Maybe you hear a song and the lyrics just click and it makes sense. Maybe it's a book that you pick up. Maybe it's a dream that you have, a vision that you have in meditation. We're going to see another conjunction, and that will be Sun and Neptune later in the month. But this day in particular, pretty lucky day. The problem is that we're also seeing a square from the moon to Pluto. So on this day, it's like, I see that, I like it, I think that it's wonderful, but I also am very realistic that if we don't harness the earthy energies in Capricorn and the North Node in Taurus, and also the sextiles to Uranus, and ground this energy out, it's almost going to be a lot of like, this is going to be happen. This can happen. I can do this. I can do that. I can do anything. And if it's not grounded in reality, there can be this sense of like being too overly optimistic or kind of like betting everything, So I'm not entirely convinced that this is necessarily going to be as positive and optimistic as other people are kind of suggesting that it's going to be. Now, on the same day, Mars and Venus enter 0 degrees of Aquarius. You'll see this a couple hours later. Let me move this. Here we go. And that piques my interest because it's very similar to when we had the great conjunction happen at the end of 2020, when both Jupiter and Saturn ingress into 0 degrees of Aquarius. 0 degrees always deals with like a seed. It's planting something new. When we see this ingress from having had Mars and Venus in a Saturn-based sign, Capricorn, which is kind of militant, kind of stuffy, it's slow, it's bossy, and it can be a little bit more kind of reserved than usual, right? Conservative. To Aquarius, it's going to be like, boom, somebody turn the lights on. People are going to want to socialize. Venus is going to say, hey, I want more freedom. I want free love. I want more socializing. I want to go to parties. I want to hang out with people. I want to feel like I can connect with others. And I also need more than just a kind of traditional stuffy love or a serious commitment. I need to be able to experience all different types of love and relationships, especially when it comes to friendships and being platonic, right? So I feel like when it comes to relationships, it's a bit of a turning point because I'm kind of wondering like, okay, what's going on this day? Moon goes into Taurus, conjuncts Uranus, bam, squares Mars and Venus. So is this like some grand celebration and everybody's like, woo, pandemic's over. We're going to Cancun. We're partying. We're going to go out and see our friends, blah, blah, blah. Possibly. Keep in mind Mars and Venus and Saturn and Mercury are behind all of these planets in Pisces. So everything's 12 houses to Pisces. So to me, it seems like a little bit of a false flag. So I'm even surprised, like you were seeing stuff for the CDC that's just like, oh, like masks, like whatever, like you do whatever you want to do. And I think we're going to see some of the kind of restrictions lessen even more, especially when it comes to being able to travel and having more freedom. And I think people are going to start feeling more comfortable partying and going and socializing and just going and being out and about with others. Now, in a relationship sense, we've still got Mars and Venus conjunct. Now they're kind of in the weird and wacky fixed air sign of Aquarius. So to me, it feels very like free love-esque. Maybe it's a period where now that we're coming out of 2 years after COVID, people are going to want to go and start dating and meeting in person again. Maybe groups are going to start getting together again. Maybe we're going to start seeing unusual patterns. And I'm thinking just the aftermath of COVID, where you've got a lot of people who have either been, locked in their house with their partners for 2 years and they're fed up, and maybe, they've already separated and they've gone through the separations or a divorce, and they're like, now I can go out and meet people. I can also think that there can just be more unusual dynamics in relationships, like polyamory, open relationships, people who are just kind of sharing the fact that they need more openness and freedom when it comes to their romantic relationships in general. I think that's going to be an interesting theme, honestly, especially when we see like Mars and Venus come into a square with the nodes later. That'll be later this month going into April. But also when Pluto goes into Aquarius, sexuality is due for an upgrade. I think people are going to start having all kinds of new pronouns. I think we're going to have all kinds of new things in regards to gender at birth and what's assigned to us, and whether or not people are still subscribing to traditional relationships. But that's for another video. Just keep in mind that people are going to need more freedom, and we wouldn't have so many planets coming into conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius and squaring the nodes and if it wasn't that we're due for an upgrade wherever Aquarius is in our chart. And when I say freedom, I don't mean just freedom to roam. I mean freedom to be different, to explore, to not judge, to be able to express differently, and especially when it comes to groups of people. So I'm loving the fact that Mars and Venus in Aquarius reactivate that point from last year. I'm loving the fact that also it's giving us the opportunity to start gathering with other people and sharing our unique talents and being able to share the art and the film and the music and the perspectives or the books, everything that we've been doing while we have been limited. So I think that there is like a wave of lots of really creative, but also lots of responses to kind of like the social and political things that have been going on in the world. So we're going to see people who are probably going to be more willing to protest, people who are probably going to be more willing to go out there and unite. And guess what? It's not going to be based off of gender. It's not going to be based off of ethnicity, belief systems, political parties. It's just going to be masses of people going out being like, we are all wanting equality. We're all done. And that energy will build all the way up until about April, May. So stay tuned for that. On the 6th, we're going to see Mercury come into a square with the nodes. So Mercury in Aquarius square the nodes. Actually, this is happening. Yeah, it's happening on the 6th, excuse me. This is an important time because when planets square the nodes, it's reiterating and reinforcing the fact that we must, in order to make that evolutionary leap, right, to evolve, to move out of the past, out of the south node into the north node, that we must speak up, we must say something, okay? And Mercury in Aquarius is great because it's kind of free thinking, does very well being in an air sign. It's abstract, it considers everybody, it's very technologically kind of savvy. It gives us the opportunity to be able to consider a variation of different people, perspectives, ideas. I think of like a big server that's got like a bunch of plugs in it. That's like Mercury in Aquarius, where it's constantly processing all of this information. Now, it can be a time where we see big things happen with the internet, big things happen with communication, free speech, right? Aquarius is free. And something in relation to waves, internet waves, waves of information, waves of downloads, anything like that. It's at a 24, so it's very spiritual, but it's also something that's a little secretive. So it can be that perhaps maybe there's information that's trying to break out, that's trying to get out. And there are people who are really pushing to release that information, specifically on screens. Can we trust it? That is the question. Can we trust it? Around the same period, we still see the sun in conjunction with Jupiter. We see the sun making its way towards Neptune. With the sun in between Jupiter and Neptune, it's a very kind of mystical, magical, spiritual time. You might have a lot of people that are freaking out. You might have a lot of people that are throwing a few drinks back, smoking a joint, and they're not really paying attention. So this is where I say you guys want to really pay attention to what's going on with your energies this month and where you're putting your energy, because where attention goes, energy flows. If you're spazzing out and you're like going down the Pisces drain, then you're going to create that reality. And then you're going to also set forth a wave of energy where other people are going to start responding the same way. A lot of Pisces tells me that everything is changeable. Things are dissolving. This is where the sandcastle gets kind of washed away and people are like, oh my God, but I thought I could trust the government. Oh my God, I thought I could trust Fox News. Whatever it is that you watch or listen to, I don't care. And then reality starts setting in. That's like, wait a second, Mercury square the nodes is questioning the narrative. Can we start practicing, I think, the ability to question the narrative? Are we using critical thinking? Is there something that's off? Is there something that seems like it might be manipulated? Just food for thought. Now, when it comes to our lives, Mercury square the nodes is basically saying, hi, speak up. And it's not always logical, right? I mean, Aquarius is, in a way, it's fragmented, but it's very futuristic. But at a 24, it's kind of like, I have this feeling, or, you know, something just told me I should call you, or I feel like I need to post this thing, or I feel like I need to start writing my book. That is how it may manifest. I find it interesting just coming out of this square. Also, it's going to start building into also a sextile with Uranus. So it might feel like you need to kind of break down old beliefs, old ideas, old thought patterns, old obsessions when it comes to perhaps even like conspiracy theories. It's just going to be interesting because a lot of people's perspectives are going to kind of hit a block. And when we see planets hit the nodes, it represents something, like I said, that we must do. So when it comes to Mercury, it's like having the conversation, speaking up for others, dealing with any issues involving intellectual freedom, and having a voice, especially in the masses. So you might actually start seeing lots of people pushing forward and jumping on or off of social media platforms, sending a lot of letters to their political, heads or, party whatever, you know, they're sending stuff to their local governors and stuff like that. They're just going to be speaking out, especially online. So I'm really interested to see what happens with that. I'm also really interested to see if they allow this information to be seen, because I can see just shortly after that, within 2 days' time, Moon comes into Taurus, and it's going to square Saturn and Mercury again. So it's how the public actually reacts to whatever is going on a couple days later. On the 13th, the Sun will conjunct Neptune in Pisces. This is the square, by the way, on the 8th. So that's where I'm expecting static, because it's going to square Mercury and Saturn. It's going to reactivate the eclipse point from November of 2021. But on the 13th, we see the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, Sun-Neptune conjunction. And this is, you know, once again, mystical, psychic dreams. There can be lower energy. There might be more of a need to kind of rest and retreat. It really depends on where it lands in your chart. But I see this at a 22 as like actually putting the vision to work. So if you're overworking, you might feel exhausted. If you're feeling like you need to get some healing, some therapy, some rest, some assistance, some spiritual guidance, it's definitely a time to like break out the tarot cards, working with the pendulum, looking at your crystal ball, whatever you want to do. But 22 is pretty solid. I'm also liking the fact that this is starting the sextile to the North Node in Taurus. So I'm very curious, as the month goes on, how we actually realize that it's time to kind of deconstruct, release, let go of old power struggles, structures, issues in our life, so that way we can actually heal, right? All this energy is also trining the South Node, so we're moving out of collective trauma, we're releasing any sexual trauma, scarcity issues, fear, issues where we're afraid of loss, death, or letting go. And the trine to the South Node helps us do that. The sextile to the North Node helps us get better into our body, embodiment. So grounding is going to be a big thing during Pisces season. It's going to be a big thing during Taurus season as well. And it's all about how do we feel in our bodies? How are our bodies responding to stress, right? Uranus and Taurus. How is our nervous system responding to stress? It's been a year and a half of Saturn-Uranus squares, and our bodies are run down. And it's important to make sure we're eating well, sleeping well, really practicing grounding out our energy, even if we have to use innovations in technology to do so. I think Uranus and Taurus is going to bring us stuff like more technologies like grounding mats. We're going to see more crystals being incorporated into jewelry, especially for spiritual purposes. I think we're going to find that there's going to be more upgrades and things that we can use to actually diffuse energies connected to technology. That's all I'll say. You guys can read between the lines. Then on the 14th, we really see the sun start to sextile the North Node, and we're kind of cooking with gas. It will be at a 24 degree again. Interesting how all these 24s keep coming up, right? Very Pisces, very intuitive, very spiritual, and it may really keep reminding us that we have to keep tuning into our emotions, because this month, our emotions are going to be the kind of the compass for really gauging whether or not we're going in the right direction, right? So the sun sextile, the North Node, is an awareness about where we're going, how to physically create change, how to get more into our body and experience pleasure. On the 17th, we're going to see, there we go. We're going to see Mercury in Pisces, sextile Uranus and Taurus, and this is probably when we're going to start actually receiving more of the information, channeling, things like that. It's very fascinating that it's happening while the moon is in Virgo, just getting ready to come into that full moon in Virgo. Mercury sextile Uranus. Mercury in Pisces is a little bit of like being in the fishbowl. Sometimes everything's like a little scattered. We have to really kind of feel our way into it. Those of you guys who have natal Mercury in Pisces, you know there can be lots of feelings, but it's hard to find the words, right? So we want to shake it out. We want to move it out with that Uranus and Taurus, soaking, massaging, being in nature, hiking, and anything that we can do to actually start working that energy out, even if we can't find the words to express kind of what's going on. Mercury in Pisces, though, you know, while it's really great and fun and spiritual, I'm watching it start coming into a conjunction, I think, with Neptune And that's going to be a lot of like the, can I trust that? Is this legitimate? Am I seeing clearly? Do I need to change my lenses? You know, did I read that correctly type of energy? So while you have that sextile, watch for the occurrences that can happen, just the kind of light bulb moments that happen around the 17th. Now on the 18th of the month, we're going to have a full moon in Virgo. Oh my God, thank God we're finally getting some Virgo, because there has been so much energy in the skies that's been lacking, having that. Finally, we're going to get some earth trines here. We're also going to see that this is a moon that is very logical and practical. It's nice. It's going to balance out a lot of the Pisces stuff. What I put down is this is the moon that I'm calling the remedy. So the Virgo full moon is the remedy, very grounded, healing, logical, and it's going to help us break bad habits. Virgo is about healing, sorting, sifting, assessing, right? And being that it's coming into an opposition with the sun in Pisces, it's like, hold on a second, let's check those conspiracies. Let's follow up on this and make sure that this wasn't edited or altered. Let's make sure that this is the real issue. Let's not avoid, let's not hide, right? Because Pisces can have an energy to want to hide things. Whether we're consciously or unconsciously doing it. I mean, I think that if we're conscious during the time of this full moon, it's awesome, and it's going to be super kick-ass for just like detoxing and getting rid of bad habits, whether it's, you know, like not eating well, whether it's not having good mental, emotional, spiritual boundaries, whether it's like falling into patterns of undoing, self-sabotaging, delaying, not wanting to acknowledge. This is the moon to get super grounded and super practical. It's going to be around 27 degrees. It's going to trine Pluto. Okay, it's still in a trine to the North Node too. So this is one of my favorite full moons, at least, you know, in the immediate next couple of months, because it's going to give us the opportunity to basically kind of sort and sift fact from fiction. And Virgo is going to come in, the dispositor of this moon is going to be Mercury. And Mercury is hanging out, obviously still in Pisces. Now it's going to come into a conjunction with Jupiter. So even the day before the moon, there's going to be like this feeling on the 16th that's like, something's not right here. What do I need to correct? What do I need to clean up or fix? Great day to like go through your to-do list, your checklist, clean the house, organize things, you know, make the doctor's appointments, like follow up with things. There can be healing crisis stuff that can come up, or accidents, okay, especially with Virgo. Whenever you're looking at the axis of Virgo, sometimes the 8th house can be crisis too, but it is in a trine to Pluto, so it's a very Scorpio energy. And my guess is that this is when things start to kind of make us realize like, okay, this is the wave that's coming in to clear stuff out. So if you're having tower moment experiences, if you're finding that things are falling apart, let them fall apart, let them go. On the 19th of the month, we are going to see Venus in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. Wah, wah. So it's happening a little bit earlier on the 19th. This is the 10 p.m. hour, so let me move this. Depending on where it lands in your chart, obviously Venus-based charts are going to feel this a little bit more. So if you're a Libra or a Taurus rising, equally, if you are an Aquarius rising, you're going to feel this as well. And when Venus comes into the square with the nodes, she's just kind of reiterating what the buildup has been really since she entered into Aquarius earlier in the month, around the 5th of, I need the freedom, now I'm breaking out. So we might see some like amazing new, I think, like political people start stepping up. We might see some real significant artists, creatives, protesters, women, some very fierce kind of rebellious women that start showing up in the midst of this. And we just might see some conflicts and some clashes of values, right? Venus in Aquarius is very much about the collective, the groups, the purpose, the tribe, the belief system. And I think a lot this month, it's got me thinking a lot about integrity. You know, Aquarius is getting me thinking a lot about integrity, the right thing to do. And not just in a sense of like, oh, you know, we're making sacrifices for everybody. Not like that narrative. It's the stuff that you see that goes on every day, and whether or not you're going to jump in and actually defend somebody. And whether it's a woman, a relationship, a child, somebody's honor. It can even be the health and the rights. You know, when I think about that, women's rights, there might be some stuff that comes up around this at the end of March. And I think it'll materialize as there being a clash, because squares are always a clash. So with Venus in Aquarius, she's fighting for freedom, social justice, equality, regardless of gender, race, belief system, whatever. Aquarius doesn't see those things. It just sees people. It sees souls. So I think we're going to start seeing some really interesting people on the internet start kind of standing up for other people who may not be able to defend themselves. I can't think about Uranus squares or anything involving Uranus and Taurus without the financial markets, NFTs, crypto, and we're already seeing it, right? Like, I'm not an advocate for war. I would rather this not be happening, but I know that sometimes when we see certain conjunctions and aspects, it's inevitable that some of these energies are going to play out. So I'm not going to get political, but my mind started kind of turning today, and I was thinking, I posted about it on Twitter. I was like, what if all of these conjunctions, especially Mars and Venus coming into conjunction with Saturn and Aquarius, what if that conjunction, which inevitably will square the nodes this month and next month, is the setup, basically? It's going to almost be like the catalyst for us moving more in the direction of moving away from, you know, centralized banking and working more on pooled resources and supporting one another and being able to give freely to other people because we want freedom. And I got really kind of excited when I saw two things. One is, like, I'm not a huge Elon Musk fan, but like, you know, Ukraine basically asking Elon Musk for help and assistance when it comes to like internet, telecommunication stuff. And he immediately jumps in and he's just like, yeah, you know, we're basically setting up, I don't know what it is, like the Interlink or whatever his internet thing is that's supposed to be on Mars, but now it's here. And jumps in and says like, hey, we're making it possible. We're going to start getting on the ground and being able to help you. Wow, amazing, right? Then I also saw how Ukraine was like out there asking for assistance and help. And you've got all kinds of people who are chipping in and actually sending cryptocurrency to Ukraine to help them fight Russia. Interesting, okay? I guess the flip side of the squares that we're going to see with like Mars and Venus coming into conjunction with Saturn, because this is going to be what particular leaders or particular political groups are going to be doing with money and resources. And my heart kind of breaks when I see that, you know, we don't have the money to feed homeless. We don't have the money to be able to, you know, help, you know, put roofs over people's heads or, you know, feed them or take care of health for those who are in need. But we've got like, you know, trillions of dollars that we can spend on war and, you know, sending more armor and tanks and other things to Europe. So I think a lot of people, the more that they're seeing these conjunctions between Mars and Venus as it approaches Saturn and it squares the nodes, people are going to start getting really pissed. Being that it's going to square the South Node in Scorpio, which is about death, it is about loss, it is about debt. It's like, okay, so you have the money for war, but we don't have the money to help pay off student debt? And we're going to hear more of this. You know, you have the money to donate to what's going on, you know, overseas, but you can't help us cure cancer. So there's more of this that's going to come. People are going to start speaking up about this. You're going to start seeing people get very rebellious in all of the best ways, hopefully. And then the next day, we are going to see the sun go into Aries, and it'll be the spring equinox. Before I get to that, though, like I said, with this square between Uranus and Taurus and Venus in Aquarius, change-ups in relationships, values, finances, big shakeups, big. And every single time you see that square or that conjunction, it's going to start setting up. So I'm going to take a time out for a second before we get to the next day. So yes, we're going to talk about that, but I'm going to do a video about this in the next week or so. This is a book that my mentor recommended to me. I'm not affiliated with anything I talk about on this channel. It's just stuff I like. But my mentor recommended this book to me about 4 years ago. I don't even know when this was published. When was this published? Let's see. But she recommended it to me. It was published in 2017. Okay, so it was definitely ahead of its time. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and it was translated by somebody, but it was a lecture that he gave. A Call for Revolution, a Vision for the Future. My young friends, you are my hope for humanity. I want to state it out loud and clearly so that you can hear and respond to my message. I'm confident in the future. You have the capacity to lead humanity towards a renewed form of fraternity, justice, and solidarity. A call for revolution. So I started looking at all these transits coming in Aquarius, and just intuitively something kept telling me, like, pull this book out. It's a short read. It's not very long. It's maybe 112 pages. Yeah, about. I really highly recommend getting this book. If you are younger, even if you're not younger, but if you're younger, if you have kids, I really recommend this. I'm going to basically give a review, and I'm going to give a lecture kind of talking about the major talking points. But he talks a lot about what the future is going to look like. Keep in mind, it came out in 2017. And why we need to be inspiring younger people to understand more about peace and equality and being able to come together and leading the change for what's going on in the world so we're not repeating old patterns. And something that he kept talking about was like being a rebel for peace. And something just like clicked for me. And I was like, okay, of course I'm reading this again. This is coming up now. But I'm going to talk about this. If that's something that interests you, it's not an astrology book, but it's definitely going to apply very much to the astrology of the next month. Please do consider getting it. You can pick it up on Amazon, and I would read it, and hopefully you'll join me in the next week and we can talk about it, because I think that there's some really important lessons that are there. And even if you don't, it's fine. Wait for that video. All right, so then on the 20th of the month, it is Aries season. Sun is in Aries, spring equinox. Happy spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. It is the astrological new year. It's a fresh start, sort of. So the sun is in Aries. But we have yet to have the new moon in Aries. So we won't really have that new energy until the new moon. And at the time, you know, when this starts, Mars and Venus are still conjunct, but Mars is coming into a square with Uranus. So that being the start of the spring season, kind of talking about what's going to go on for like really the better part of the next 3 months or so, makes me feel like it's definitely between now and the better part of, you know, June going to be fireworks. Definitely, that's what we see when Mars squares Uranus. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as the month comes around. But it doesn't quite feel like a fresh start quite yet. I mean, it's new energy, but more around the end of May, early June is when that's going to start taking place. All right. So also on the 20th, we're going to see Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. Now, this I like because the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is good news. It depends on where it falls in your chart. Look at Pisces. But I feel like that good news will play out sometime between the 20th and the 21st as the moon comes into Scorpio, conjuncts the South Node and trine. So it's kind of like good, happy coincidences, kind of lucky things that kind of happen. Stuff comes together. Something falls apart, but it makes sense. Some kind of cosmic spiritual energy comes in and assists you. And being that it's going to trine the South Node, it tells me that's like, hey, it's happening so that way we can clear something away. So it's definitely setting up pretty positively there. Now on the 22nd, oh, that can also be a good day for deciphering dreams, divination, and getting insight. If you want to get a reading, that's a good day. March 22nd, Mars in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus. Unexpected arguments, quarrels, nervous tension, bangs, explosions of anger. Please move slowly, drive slowly, be mindful of where you're going, what you're doing, please. Because the sun's in Aries, so it's heavy Mars season. Mars is in a square with Uranus. Venus is in a square with Uranus. Here's the deal. Where maybe a couple days prior, especially if you're a Venus-based chart, you were kind of causing some quarrels and you were not totally pleased and you don't like the way somebody, you know, decorated or painted something, or you don't really have the same values, or you don't have the same taste in movies or food. Now Mars shows up and he comes into the square. This is a little bit more of a potent square. This to me is fireworks. This is, remember like last August, I think it was it was the first week of July of 2021. And we had some kind of Mars square or something in Leo, I think. That's when we saw all kinds of just like firework accidents and things. I mean, obviously it was 4th of July in the States, but whatever. Watch for issues with impact, heat, flames, things that can be combustible, combative, drive slowly, be safe. But Mars ruled charts, so Aries rising, Scorpio rising. You're kind of stirring the pot this day, so be careful. If you have a lot of really strong Mars signatures or Uranian signatures, you're going to be a little bit more reactive. I'm hoping this is not the case, but I'm just realistic. I think we're going to see a lot of keyboard warriors at the end of March who are suddenly people who are like, you know, specialists. If they weren't, specialists when it comes to COVID, now they're specialists in regards to like, war-related issues in Europe. I don't know. You're going to see people arguing. You're going to see people not getting along, arguing on forums, going back and forth, lots of political strife, conflict, and people who are just stirring the pot. So we don't want to partake in this. There's definitely going to be a lot of fuel being added because the moon is going to be in Sag. So the moon's going to come into a sextile with Mars and Venus, and it's going to trine the sun. So, man, Aries season really kind of kicks off with a bang, and I think we're going to start feeling it sometime right around this square, honestly. So watch out for those unexpected arguments. On the 23rd, we're going to see Mercury come into a conjunction with Neptune, sextile Pluto, and also sextile the North Node. So a couple things going on here. Mercury, Neptune. Don't be drinking and driving. Don't be drinking and texting. Be mindful that not everything is what it may seem. There can be some like weird kind of suspicious, curious people that can kind of come into your life when it comes to transactions, when it comes to business, when it comes to reading the fine print, signing things. It's almost similar to like a Mercury retrograde-esque, right? It's not retrograde, but something's not clear. On the flip side, it's a great time for meditation, downloading, checking in. Anytime we have these conjunctions to Neptune, we want to practice awareness and ask ourselves, does it feel right? And if it doesn't, kind of do some digging, take a look into it. Maybe wait until Mercury comes in Aries within a couple days before making a move. But being that Mercury and Neptune are right behind the sun, I kind of feel like there is still some news that has yet to kind of go worldwide, or there is a narrative that's being spread that really just genuinely doesn't make sense. So I would rather wait until we get Mercury away from this Neptune conjunction. If you're a Virgo rising, or if you're a Gemini rising, time to pay attention, because there can be some people or some situations coming in that you can't quite trust. So for Virgos, it's like, okay, did that person ghost me? They didn't call me back. Can I trust them? There can be some like weird romantic things going on with people at a distance that may not be completely honest. For Gemini risings, it can be very careful when it comes to how you communicate and what you say, or if you're being filmed or if you're recording anything. Things can kind of be taken out of context. There can also be a sense of possibly like mincing your words, or somebody who wants to do business but you're not quite sure if you can trust them. Okay, listen to the horoscopes if you guys want more on that. But for the most part, the flip side is it does bring divine inspiration. So if you're somebody who writes music, poetry, if you want to do some journaling, if you want to do some meditating, if you're wanting to go and spend the day, by the pool reading, awesome day to do that. Little friction though with that moon in Sag coming into a square. It's a lot of like, what can I believe in type stuff, So that's a little curious for me. And then also with the sextile to Pluto, I think it's basically also saying that there can be some like more kind of corrupt, kind of darker influences or things that's like kind of power grabs and we're not even really aware of it. So like news can come out globally that's like, we're doing this for you, but it comes at a cost, right? So watch for those strings that are attached. And then the sextile to the North Node is like, well, is that true? Is that really going to give us security? Is that bailout really going to help everybody? Like, was this some kind of setup or whatever just to kind of move things around globally in the markets? I don't know. And then on the 22nd, excuse me, got a little ahead of myself here. Not the 22nd. Then on the 27th, there you go. The 27th, Mercury enters Aries. Yes, that's what I'm waiting for, honestly, for like communicating, signing anything, saying anything. I want to wait until the moon comes into Aries and it starts sextiling. The moon comes into Aquarius and starts sextiling Mercury and the sun. This is going to be a day where, especially when Mercury is at like anywhere between 0 and 1 degrees of Aries, it's just like, say it. It might just feel like I have to come out with it. I have to go here. I have to make the purchase of the plane tickets. I have to start the lesson. I need to have the conversation. There's some impulsiveness behind that, especially because Mercury spent so long through conjunctions to Saturn, square the nodes, going into Pisces, conjunct, Jupiter and Neptune. It's like, do I believe it? Do I not believe it? Maybe save some more important conversations closer to the end of March. March is going to be like a roller coaster. It's going to feel like things go up and then they go down. And is it going to work? Oh my God, it's not. By the end of the month, things are going to start coming together a little bit better. But yeah, Sun conjunct Mercury in Aries is just a lot of like walk the walk and talk the talk, new frame of mind, getting started. And it's going to be really nice because we're actually going to start feeling like we're moving forward. On the 28th, and this is an interesting day also all around because we've got the moon that was in Aquarius conjunct Mars. So you probably saw on the 27th, it's like, I'm doing this now. And then we're going to see moon conjunct Saturn, Venus. Wow. So serious commitments are going on, committed to unity, partners, friends, finding out what love and friendship is really made of. Standing together, being united, Remember, Aquarius wants us to focus on a common goal and how it can benefit everybody, regardless of where we come from or who we are, right? We all want to be created equal. We want to be treated equal. So there's something about this that makes me feel like there's going to be some real revolutionary energies that are setting up. America's in its Pluto return. I think about how this country was founded. It was founded on rebels, right? You had people that were like riding off in the middle of the night, like taking important papers, hiding out, doing things that were technically against, the king's law, going underground, trying to be able to, help people cross borders between states, possibly even, like guerrilla style warfare. I mean, militias. In some weird way, I feel like a lot of this energy is coming back. And we're going to see that some of the people this time around who are leading the revolution are going to be like total fringe individuals. Total fringe individuals. I think we're going to see lots of people out there who are going to be really adamant about creating a ruckus, and the fact that they're not willing to allow certain individuals to hold them back or keep them from freedom or self-expression or free speech, whatever. Whenever we see all these stelliums of planets that are in Aquarius, stuff happens, right? We think like, spring of 2021. Think about what was going on in, January, February 2021. I think a lot of us thought the pandemic was going to be over, and then come to find out it wasn't. And then there was this whole rollout of what was like new restrictions. So if you guys think that this is like over, it's not. You're going to start seeing right around the conjunctions to Saturn, the square to the nodes at the end of March, going into April, that there's going to be a real push towards Aquarian stuff. Saturn can also be restrictions. So while people have been kind of running free for most of March, the next wave of events that are coming, and whether it's the media spinning a war or some new pandemic or, some new financial world crisis, they're trying to do that to be able to reinforce control. And Aquarian control is very different than Capricorn control. Capricorn is more militant, right? And now that all these energies go into Aquarius, it's going to be more technology. It's going to be your online banking. It's going to be wallets. It's going to be cryptocurrency. It's going to be whether or not you can post on social media, who you're gathering with, whether or not you have the freedom to view certain other people's posts or exercise free speech. I know this stuff sounds crazy. Watch what happens. Some of the stuff that's been going on in Canada, some of the stuff that's been going on also with other countries that have been saying as a response to Ukraine that they're going to start shutting down, resources or transaction abilities of Russia. Would not surprise me if you see that going on. So going back to what I said in my Twitter post, part of me this morning was like, oh my God, like, what if this is it? Like, obviously, nobody wants war, nobody wants conflict, but I think the way that we see war moving forward is not going to be traditional war or warfare. It's going to be this digital war, right? So we think about, all the scares that have been going on the last week or two with like, oh, Russia's going to do this and they're going to shut this down and they're going to get involved in that. Like, those threats are a lot scarier than some other stuff, in my opinion, that's going on, because I'm more concerned about, people messing with the grid, or people messing with our ability to access data, or, them coming in and like messing with our ability to transact things. On the flip side, if we do start to see some really crazy people, I'm cautious to say because I don't want this to get flagged. If we see some certain governments that are coming in and kind of strong-arming people and trying to take away their freedom by messing with their assets, I think you're going to see so many more people that are going to be like, fuck this, I'm going to crypto, I'm going digital. And that has been happening in some places already. So I think this may be the digital revolution that's setting up to move away from anything that's going to be centralized, whether it's like websites, whether it's content platforms, whether it's banking. And a lot of people are going to go, that's it, I want freedom. And they're not going to be willing. There's going to be certain things that will happen because of the squares that are to the nodes that will reinforce this. And remember, guys, the North Node is about being able to simplify when it's in Taurus. It's about making sure we have our basic needs, food, money, resources, clothing, homes, all that stuff. So I think you're going to see this is going to be the kickoff, ultimately, of a lot of people in the world joining in on the revolution. But in our own lives, there's going to be certain things that are going to be going on. It depends on where Aquarius is in your chart, where you're like, nope, that's a non-negotiable, and we're done. We're doing things differently now. So try to be rebels for peace, try to be rebels for change, and try to protest peacefully, please, because if some of these energies play out with Mars square the nodes and Mars conjunct Saturn, it will give certain governments enough incentive to basically take more rights away. Okay, so you guys really want to think about that. That's why I recommended that book. Then we've got on the 28th, Neptune in Pisces is going to sextile the North Node, grounding out our dreams and making them reality. So the sextile is going to help us be able to start building towards that and really make that happen. But it starts with our dreams, it starts with our prayers, it starts with our manifestation, it starts with our visions. Then on the 30th, we're going to have Venus in Aquarius square the nodes of the moon. Relating and adding love is extra important. Finding peace, finding balance, and it's not just romantic love, it's friendship. We need friendship, we need the ability to be able to align with people who are going to support our values. We need to kind of put out a helping hand and stand up for other people's health and wellness. Make decisions that come from the heart, guys. Okay, so there's a sequence of events, right? We saw Mercury square the nodes. Then we're going to see, Venus square the nodes. Then we're going to see Saturn square the nodes. Then we're going to see Mars square the nodes. Mars is going to be the one that's going to come in and it's going to enforce that. That's kind of leading into April. Last but not least, we have an extra lunation this month. So we have 2 new moons this month, one on the 2nd, the second one's on the 31st. Extra manifestation. It's a long month, but still. On the 31st, we have a new moon in Aries at 11 degrees. Wow. And that is conjunct Chiron and Mercury. Fresh starts, especially when it comes to healing, standing up, being an individual. I'm loving the sextiles to Mars and Saturn, even though that's not a great conjunction that's building, and putting our money where our mouth is and really walking the walk and talking the talk and standing up and really taking initiative, especially in April, is not going to be easy. We're going to have to fight for it, but it's going to be worth fighting for. Okay? And that's it. That's all that I really have for you guys. Some of this stuff was already in my horoscopes. If you're like, hey, how does this affect me? Check out my videos. You can see, like I said, the new moon in Pisces, and I did the horoscopes for all of the 12 signs. I'll be back. We'll break these things down as the month goes on because it's a lot to take in, and I don't want to sound repetitive. And also, I'm going to try to do the astro weather for April a little bit earlier because I feel like I'm leaving you guys on a cliffhanger here. New moon in Aries, then we're going to see right at the beginning of April, it's like, hi, Mars conjunct Saturn, square the nodes. First 4 or 5 days of Aries is intense. Excuse me, April. Aries, April. It's intense. So I'll make sure I get the astro weather for April out a little bit earlier so you guys know what to plan on. It'll also come into the new moon in Aries. If you haven't already checked out my memberships, please do. It helps support the channel. It helps me create more content. It's my goal to be able to create videos for you almost every day if possible. I'm trying to get to that goal by August or sometime this summer. There's 3 different tiers, so if you consider becoming a member, it makes it possible for me to provide you guys with these videos and do more like educational videos as well. I have a newsletter now that's going to be coming out. If you sign up on my link below, I've created this newsletter primarily to be able to promote my new courses and offerings. I may also start doing closed astro lectures if that's something you guys are interested in. It's going to be a limited number of students that I'm going to be teaching. I'm getting ready to announce that after the new moon. It's coming. But if you want to study with me, if you like my style, please check out my newsletters and sign up below. This Saturday on the 5th, we're going to be doing live tarot readings at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to get a reading, check that out. And if you want to book a reading with me, check out my website below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. I've got openings usually anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks down the road. So I think I've got some openings the second half of March right now. So if you want to get a reading with me, please do let me know. I am happy to see new clients, and hope this is a really magical month for you guys. Make sure that you're really paying attention to your energy. Like I said, where your attention goes, energy flows. Let's create the life that we want. Where is all of this energy happening for you? How are you feeling? How's it affecting you? Let me know below. Would love to hear. Otherwise, I will see all of you guys very soon, and enjoy the month of March. Take care.